Hello guys, I'm Teke. I was the head judge for the Haven Games Regional located in Castleberry, Florida. I kind of just wanted to make a recap video about things that went on there, like what our top cut was, what our breakdown was, answer some of the judge questions that I had going on, and then talk about the issues that we dealt with using Challenge. So starting things off, we have our breakdown. We had one Fire Allen, we had 15 Fire Lorraine, one Water Lorraine, 7 Wind Lorraine, one Normal Lorraine, which was very interesting. We had 2 Fire Merlin, 1 Fire Mordred. We had 14 Fire Rise show up, 2 of which I knew were on Erupting, and I believe both of the Merlin lists were also Erupting. Then we had 1 of each Sylvie, so 1 Fire, Water, and Wind, 3 Fire Tristan, and 2 Water Xander. I was very surprised to see as many people playing Tristan as there were. I knew that there was going to be one because we have a local player who likes to play Tristan. So that one I wasn't too surprised about. I'm a little surprised that we did not see more Rye players. Going into it, a lot of people were thinking that Rye was the best deck in the format. So I am a little surprised to see just it being underrepresented in my opinion, especially considering that only 12 of them were Arcane Rise. One of them was a Mana Weaver list, but I don't have that list saved. For our top cut, it was 7 Lorraine, 1 Merlin. We had um, 3 Wind Lorraines. We had 3 Fire Lorraines, a Water Lorraine, and then we had the 1 Erupting Merlin. The list that interested me the most during Top Cut was Nick Tinko's Water Lorraine list. It looked very strong, looked very well poised into the Lorraine meta. It was a very strong meta call. Caben's Wind Lorraine list, which was just ally aggro, also seemed very, very strong. It was definitely a deck that interested me a little bit, watching how it played and everything. And then the Fire Merlin list I was very excited about. It was piloted by my best friend, and it is the list that I built. It was very nice seeing the representation for it, seeing it get piloted in the top 8. So at the recording for this, we don't know who got first between Jimmy and Nick. They are at the same locals, and the event ran very, very late due to some issues I will talk about later involving Challenge. So we're still waiting to figure out who won between them. They took the winner's mat and just said we'll play for it later at locals for it. So we'll see then. But we'll jump in and start looking at some of the lists. I'm not going to go too in depth for it, but I would like to go over a little bit. So we had Jimmy's win list, which just looked like a very strong wind in soul list. Seemed pretty decently tuned. Had a good early-ish aggressive plan with sergeants and captains and swift recruits, just able to apply a little bit of pressure and then in soul to end the game. I like that more and more people are switching over to Crux Knight Lorraine. I honestly think she is better than Spirit Ruler Lorraine, especially after the dungeon guide changes. I think that it's just the better way to go about it. I think it's pretty interesting that we only have 5 Insoul Swords and that we have a main board Nullifying Lantern. I would have expected Nullifying Lantern to be more of a sideboard card, but seeing the list and everything definitely looked very strong. Jimmy's also a really good player, so anything he does for Wind Lorraine, I'm pretty sure it's just probably the best thing to be doing with Wind Lorraine. After that, we had the deck that, outside of the Merlin list, I was the most interested in, which was Nick's Water Lorraine. It seemed very good in the games that I saw played. It, I think, has been the closest to a strong control deck outside of Water Xander, but Water Xander suffers with not having a good early to mid game to bridge into the late game, so it's pretty easy to see it get run over. But this list, seeing the Aqueous Enchanting plus Frostborn Paladins was very strong. Just either protecting them or helping have a more aggressive game plan with them. And then having the Nia for Disruption, Freezing Hails, now that leveling up doesn't wake you up, is very, very strong. And then just Insole as a finisher is really solid. Um, Almost the exact same package that Jimmy was running for the material deck, uh, just with Spirit of Water instead of Wind. So it was very neat to see that. Shroud and Mist seems like an absolutely insane card, especially into the metagame call where there was a bunch of Lorraines that were just running human aggro. So it was very nice to see. And then you just in here we just have extra Shroud and Mist, Water Barrier, and Cleanse for whichever is best for the matchup. Like I can see against Ra, you bring out the Shroud and Mist, you go up the Water Barrier, go up the Cleanse, and then just extra Banner Knights to try and rush down that matchup. But all in all, if I was to play a list from our top 8 and try it out, this is the list I would be interested in trying out the most. It seems to be the most unique list. After that, we have Fire Lorraine. Couple interesting cards in here. There's Ghost Strike. Ghost Strike I found to be a very interesting play. It's kind of cute that you can just banish something from your material deck to boost up Crux Knight if you're not going in with the Insole plan. So it gives like a little bit of an option. 2 infusions was very interesting to me, especially after the wake up change. You generally, if I see infusion, I'm expecting there to be some Spirit's Blessing, but this build wasn't running it. I like the split of 3 and 3 for Devastating Blow and Rending Flames. That way, you're not too worried about them playing a Disruptive Lantern and then you're trying to have to like sideboard a Spurn to Ash or something like that to deal with it. And then only 1 Cruxite was, I think, the weirdest thing about this list. I think the only thing if I were to make this list myself, I would try and include more Cruxites. And then the sideboard was just more allies to try and make the deck slightly more aggressive. From there, we have Cabin's list. And if you want to play an aggro deck, I think this is the aggro deck to play. Like, this deck seems very, very powerful. Gildas with Squirrel and Ace and Protectors just seems very, very strong. Like, I think Gildas is pretty solid, and just having a bunch of ways to try and ensure the Gildas math is a very nice play. I like the fact that it's running Song of Nurturing. I think more decks should be playing this if you're focused on the aggressive ally plays. The fact that you just get +2 to your health is very good. It helps defend against sweeps, helps make it so that Rye players are having to like 2 for 1 or 2 for 2, and it makes it just push slightly more out of reach. Outside of that, I think Second Wind is also a very good card. Just being able to wake up an ally and give it +1. Like on a Gildas math turn that you swing before damage, activate Second Wind, hit for 4 or hit for 5, and then you get to swing with the Gildas again. Very, very powerful. And then the sideboard was just more Vanguards, Inspiring Calls, and then Hurricane Sweeps for the mirror. And I think it was very well poised. Unfortunately, it lost to Jimmy, but I think that was a good, strong, like 50-50 between them. It was just who saw the pieces first. From there, we have Jonathan's list, which was another human aggro list, but obviously very, very different, and had the Hurricane Sweeps in the main. Kingdom Informant were very interesting. I guess the idea was just a stealth attacker that was hard to deal with unless they were playing Lorraine themselves. And then Weaponsmith was the most interesting thing in this build. But it also makes a little bit of sense. Like, you get your Warrior's Longsword and you just keep it out, and you just get to have this 2-power swing every turn with Lorraine to help add more pressure to it. Vanguard, very strong. This list, I like how the board's got Zephyr for a little bit more interaction into stuff. Zephyring swords or other things is always very good. And then I think I like Cabin's list just a little bit more because I like the durability that it brings to your allies just a little bit more. I like the Second Wind along with Gildas to just have these big explosive 10 damage turn without having to commit too terribly much to it. Then we have my favorite deck of it, but I'm a little biased. This is the Merlin list that I built. I am a huge fan of this list. I had a lot of questions on like why I run certain things. Like I got asked why I run Magus Disciple. Magus Disciples are just library witches 5 through 7 to help out with Cremation Ritual because it allows you to +1. I played 2 Spurns in the main, and I had 1 in the side. It helps along with Lantern, but this version of the deck isn't as all in on the combo because you can just be disruptive with Merlin, get a couple of levels, and then you just start outing people with fireballs. I know that Jesse, when he ran the list, killed at least 40% of the people that he played against without ever seeing the combo and just beating them through fireballs or like a little bit of blitz mage damage and everything. I have had many people in the Discord messaging me and talking to me about this list long before this regional. It has definitely just been what my favorite deck in this format so far has been to play. Merlin, I think, is a always a good thing to go into if you're playing Erupting, because at worst, even if you eat one floating memory, you get to level 3 and it replaces what the floating memory you used to go into the Merlin was. And then from there, it's either just disruptive. You can use it against like Fire Lorraines to keep down Rending Flames by eating fire cards. Against other Erupting decks, keep them out on fire cards. Um, it has cute plays where like if they only have an Ascension in their graveyard and they don't have anything else for the Cruxite, you can just basically mitigate the Cruxite by eating the Ascension. So all in all, I think it is just, in my opinion, the best way to play this list. From there, we have another Fire Lorraine. This is from Andrew Mendoza, who is a local member for Haven. So it's really nice getting him to see in top 8. I'm another person I was very happy to see get there. This is just like basically your bog standard and Soulist, but very strong. The most interesting was that he was running Prismatic Edge in the main board for the material deck to just help give like a little more late game insurance. Because Ascension into Prismatic Edge alone can just win the game, especially if everyone doesn't have a lot going on. You go, cool, get my Prismatic Edge, flip over my stuff, deal 3 damage to you, and then you're rending for 12. So it was all in all just a very strong play. Only 2 blow and 2 flames. I think that I would bump those up to 3 each. I'm not sure what I would go down though. Maybe go down 1 Banner Knight and like 1 Flame Sweep. And then his board was just an extra Devastating Blow, Safeguard, and then another Varuk to bring it up to 3 in like the win matchups and everything. But all in all, I think this was a very strong list. And then our last one is another Fire Lorraine. Just another standard in Soul list. This one not running Prismatic Edge and just running like the full suite of weapons to bring out with it. Like whenever you think Fire and Soul, this is the list that I usually think of. 1 Spirit's Blessing is very interesting. I definitely could. I think 2 Ghosts is what's average for this deck, but it's cute having the 1 Spirit's Blessing to try and swing an extra time with your extra durability weapon. Like you get to go Warrior's Longsword swing, it breaks, and then sort of seeking for the additional damage. So it's a pretty solid choice. Only 1 Varuk in the main is interesting. I think if you play Varuk in the main, you want to run it as a 2 of just for the consistency. But all in all, everybody in the top cut played very well. I am very happy with how things went for it. I just wish challenge was a little better, which is going to lead me into talking about that a little bit. For people who are hosting the regionals, Restore Champions, or other big events, I don't recommend challenge. The issues that we were running into were after you are done giving the pairings, it immediately pairs up the next round automatically. So if people come up to you in between rounds and say, hey, I want to drop or anything like that, it's already caused that issue. If like people are waiting in between rounds and you've already put in their result and they come up to you later and say, hey, I want to drop, well, it doesn't register that until the following round after that. So that caused some issues. At some point in our round 4 going into 5, it tried to give the same person a buy 2 rounds in a row. There's just a lot of issues with challenge. We ended up having to take all of the previous round results and put them into the Konami tournament software, along with manually repairing round 5 because that happened. And then KTS just managed to save the day for it. But challenge and all of its issues added like an extra 10 to 15 minutes between every round. Having to manually fix everything added an extra hour, so it just led to things going on very, very long. However, despite all that, we had so many players coming up to us telling us that because of the communication we gave, everything was going on, that it was one of the better events they've been to. It was ran incredibly smooth despite everything. It was just a very good feeling. It felt good to be a part of that, like even with those issues, that people were still having a good time and enjoying the event in themselves. And then from there, everybody pretty much knew what they were doing. There weren't that many judge questions. A lot of things that I answered were stuff that like not a lot of people may know the interactions for, such as increasing danger on your first turn. So if you are going first and you're increasing danger, your opponent does not get the card on their first turn, because even if you're going second, you skip your recollection phase. So going first allows you to get that extra card first, and a lot of people weren't aware of that. So yeah, if you are going second and it is still your first turn, you skip Materialize and Recollection, so you don't get the card immediately from increasing danger. A couple other things were like I had a lot of questions when a card said up to something, if they were able to target, like if they were able to play without a target, and the answer is yes. If it says up to, 0 is technically still a number, so it's still a valid card. So things like Ember Song, it says up to one target ally gets 2 damage. You don't have to target something for it. However, if you are Sylvie or Alan and you have that Tamer bonus, you are required to, because now it says target something gets +2, not up to. So you gotta pay attention to things like that. If a card has class bonus and you meet that class, the class bonus is always active. However, for things like, say, Water Barrier that have class bonus floating memory, if your opponent is not a mage, then Merlin eating it wouldn't be able to give you a level counter. So you just have to pay attention to the class bonuses and make sure that class bonus fits. Other things that we had a little bit of issue with was we had a couple of newer players who kept forgetting that they wake up their champions the first thing that they do. And it is just a reminder that both players are required to maintain proper game state. So when something like that happens, your opponent can't just go, oh, well, you forgot to do it, so you skip it. It's just something that you need, like, both players just need to make sure that is going on and things are going there. And then a couple of other things. Attack cards and the intent zoner also led to a lot of questions. So an attack card does not target until it goes into the intent, which means that if you are going first and you decide for whatever reason you want to use a Savage Slash but your opponent doesn't exist yet, you play it. What happens then, it goes, you activate it, it resolves and goes to the intent zone, and then it goes, oh, hey, wait, there's not an opponent here. And then it goes away. So attacks like that do not target until you get to the intent zone. So that was something that somebody tried to do and then desperately confused their opponent, like, oh, is this even a legal play? Is it something you can do? Because you're not able to target me. So very interesting there. And then just to round things off, I really want to thank the owners of Haven for supporting the game, for allowing us to be a part of the community there, to put in the work to be able to get to the regional. James and Matt are fantastic people. If you're ever at Haven Games, I highly recommend just saying hi to them. They are nice, helpful, always willing to like lend a hand. And then I would like to thank Birdie, who was my co-judge. He was great. I would not have liked anybody else to be my judge for that day. He definitely helped keep some of the situation with challenge and everything handled. Challenge also had an issue where whenever rounds are paired, table numbers keep going. So if round 1, it's table 1 through 25, round 6 is 26 through 50. So he was making sure to manually renumber the tables so that way they are the appropriate numbers for everything, and so that really helped out. And then I would like to thank AJ as well for being the co-host of the stream for the regionals along with James. They do a fantastic job, and I am really excited that we were able to do this, and I really, really hope that we are able to do more. Hopefully I will be doing more content for this game. This is my first video. A little shaky, haven't done any content video stuff in a long time, but soon I should start having like a bunch of deck texts and stuff like that for varying Merlin lists, because on the Discord I am known as the Merlin person, and therefore I need to do more Merlin stuff. Thank you everybody for watching. If anybody has any questions or anything, my Discord name is Teke as well. Feel free to reach out to me on anything, like if you have any questions about the Erupting deck, if you have any questions about judge stuff, like any rules questions, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I am a-okay just answering questions and whatnot, and I hope whoever watches this video has a great rest of their day or night, wherever it may be for them. Thank you for watching. Have a great one.